Welcome back to the Real Estate Show with Chris Lofthus of the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty Boise. Remember, you can always reach Chris, 350-6228, chrislofthus.com. Contact us at clgeagle.com. Chris, which do you prefer to be reached by? Does it matter to you?
No, they can always call that number. You can always call my cell phone, too. People always kind of act like I'm, not available or too busy, and I'm never too busy. So if you want to reach out to me direct, my number is 514-5003.
And you don't have a problem talking to folks. I would think, again, and we were talking a little bit about this off the air, how many times I've moved. It's such an emotional, I don't want to say ordeal, but experience when you're buying and selling a home.
Yeah, it is, and then a lot of times we talk about like being a counselor, and you do, because, when you're dealing with an investor, it's one thing, and they make it such a unemotional thing. It's more about, bottom line and what they're going to, what the return on their investment is going to be. But when you're dealing with a homeowner, and we do our best to try to, we tell them, let us do our job. And the fact of the matter is, it's just kind of tough. You're dealing with typically a husband and wife, kids, people showing the house. And so it becomes emotional, especially in markets like this, when we list a house for, say, $300,000. And, someone writes an offer of $210,000 on it, and everyone goes into this big tailspin. Is that what it's really worth? And the thing is, they're still bottom feeders, what we call them out there, people trying to get a deal. And for the most part, across Dade County, there's a small float out there of some REO properties, which is bank-owned properties, and short sales. But for the most part, it's dried up. I mean, we're way off than we were even 12 months ago.
Well, and that's where you come in when all of a sudden somebody is a bottom feeder or something like that. They want a deal, and what they seem to forget is being in the seller's position, that this is their dream home. They might have to leave because of a job. They might have to leave because of divorce. It might not be the most favorable exit, if you will. So, building those two bridges, I think, would be a challenge.
Yeah, and we deal with it all the time. We deal with divorce. We deal with people getting, there's a lot of times people get transferred out. They don't want to leave, and so you're dealing with that, and you deal with husbands or wives or whatever that get transferred out of the area, and they have to leave the kids behind. And so there's just a bunch of different things we deal with. The good thing about it is we have a great team behind us, and we have Annette, who's our executive assistant, and Jerry, who's a client specialist, and we just brought a new guy in. His name is Travis Jeffers, a really, really good kid, and we just try to all be on the same page regarding just in general. When we look at people and their attitudes and their emotions, towards selling their house.
Well, let's talk a little bit about national news. Once again, the Treasure Valley, the city of trees, in the national spotlight when we're talking about getting some much-needed recognition when it comes to real estate.
Yeah, we just found this yesterday. We just kind of popped on my desk, and Annette and I were discussing it, and we have the website. So if you want to reach out to us, we can send you the information if you're not on our mailing list. But Boise got ranked number 1 in the U.S. For increasing home price by the Brookings Institute. So I think they polled 100 cities, and out of those 100 cities, Boise was up there in the number 1 out of. I don't know exactly how they ran it, but it's just great news. I like to see it. We got also by the same Brookings Institute, we got ranked number 6 in the United States for fastest overall economic recovery, which you and I will touch base on the next segment a little bit, and what's going on in Boise in general, because I know that there's a lot of interest by the just by the people in general and what's going on, just not in real estate, but with the economy in Boise. The reasoning for all this stuff, all this great news that we're seeing is, we got foreclosures down 90% over the last 18 months. The shadow inventory people talk about is just really non-existent out there. If it was, when we're hovering around 2,000 houses in the market, if the banks were holding this shadow inventory and they were waiting to put it on the market, they would surely put it on, especially when you start seeing, appreciation like we've seen. You talk about 13% from the same time last year in Ada County. And one thing I want to kind of touch on, too, about all this great news that we're getting, there are still some hurdles in the marketplace, and there are things that are going on. And we have a tendency, I don't know who came up with it, I think it was maybe Jerry, started calling them the naysayers of the overall market. And it does affect the market. So when you talk about somebody, for example, in Meridian, in a subdivision, and they're thinking about listing their house, but then they go to dinner and they run into their friend out at dinner, and their friend just starts bashing the market because they're listening to that national news again, right? So you start reading the AP articles, or you're listening to Fox. Well, you're getting just overall national news, and there are some places that are just struggling like crazy. But when you start seeing all this good information, this is kind of why we push it out there all the time. And we talk about the hard optimism and really believing in Boise, and you got to look locally, and what's going on here is fantastic stuff. And so when people are out there listening to the news or listening to their friend, what you're probably getting information that they're getting from the national, broadcasters and the national shows that they're listening to.
Well, it comes back to this, and we see it all around us. Number 6 in the country for fastest overall economic recovery. We see it on Eagle Road. We see it in downtown Boise. We see it everywhere. You have a chance to talk to people. They scout the area out. They scout the homes they want. They look at someone who's going to take care of them. What are you hearing for people from out of state that want to move here?
Which is the great thing about what's going on here is when you look at people moving in here, even 2-3 years ago, you look at, God, I just almost wish kind of had a photo of it, and they probably do somewhere online. But if you look in general at Eagle Road and what's going on and all that stuff that's Eagle and Fairview and all, it's just amazing how many businesses. You look at Sensi on one side of the road, Big Al's, all this other new stuff that's coming here. Well, what ends up happening is that people before, for example, my wife, when we first moved here, she came and she said, God, it's going to be such a change from San Diego because there's so many options, not just shopping, but just things in general for our kids. And you start watching all these things pop up. It's so great for around here. And I think this is why we're seeing the numbers increase around here. We're watching, transaction volumes going up. We talk about 35% more in new constructions from last year. And I really feel that people are looking at places like Eagle Road, and we talk about, Ruth Chris coming here. It's a big deal. I talk to guys all the time, and they're just like, they come from big areas, and you say, hey, Ruth Chris Steakhouse is coming. They're just like, it's like the best thing that's ever happened in their life, And so just in general, the positive action that's going on in Eagle Road, you complain about the traffic and that's like, you lived in other areas. That's not traffic, Right. And once the construction gets done and you really kind of get a flow of how traffic's going to work on Eagle Road, I think that people are going to be really excited with all the new shops and everything.
Well, you bring up a good point about Eagle Road. I talked to the COO of Big Al's, and he wouldn't tell me whom or what. And Chris, maybe what's going in there. But not only are we having Big Al's, but there's going to be this big shopping complex where you're going to have like a Venetian fountain, and we're talking high-end retail stuff that you get in the big cities that are coming in.
Yeah, you see a lot of this stuff in Seattle, San Diego, Orange County, and Phoenix, and all these areas, Denver. They just haven't been here before, and now we're seeing. I saw the whole layout of that whole. I don't even know what it's called. It's called Meridian. I don't know.
It's
like a lifestyle community, but I saw the whole layout of it, and what people don't know, and you can go on their website. I wish I had it, but they are having like a Venetian fountain in the middle. Well, in the summer it's going to be a fountain, and then in the wintertime, they're going to freeze it over, and it's going to be an ice skating rink. So, and there's going to be a whole Santa's Village, and I saw the whole pamphlet on it, and they're going to have a Santa's Village. So all the shops that are in there and all the retail shops are going to turn it into a kind of a Village Whistler, Canada. You know what I'm talking about? Just that ski kind of resorty feeling, which I think is great, and it just gets people out and about. And the best part about it is you can just see, the change on people's attitude, the change on their face about what's going on, and when they see that kind of movement and see that kind of stuff, it starts to rumble everything, and it just affects the overall economy. Well, and then you talk about the high-end theaters and everything else that's going in there. Is that enough to overcome, as we say, as you said, we have such optimism on Eagle Road, and then we have the naysayers. Is the positive that we're seeing enough to overcome people to have enough confidence to go to a lender and say, look, I'd like to buy a home? Right, and that's what we do. That's why I do the show. I try to bring local businesses on here, and I kind of try to lift them up and show people that, hey, you know what, there are successful businesses out there. There's a lot of great success stories. There's positive movement, and that's the whole reason behind the show. But yeah, that's the biggest thing I try to tell people is that don't, when you start listening to this information, and I don't even care if it's about real estate or if it's about lending or if it's about the economy in general, talk to you. You know what I mean? Or putting people back to work, talk to Kevin, right? And so you talk about real estate, call us, call a professional, call someone who knows what they're talking about. Even down like when you talk about Van Carlson and Aaron over at Concierge Legacy, people ask about, what should I be doing with my money? I'm not necessarily saying you need to put it in real estate, but you can talk to those guys. They're wealth management guys. So those are the guys to talk to. If you want to talk about real estate, talk to me. You want to talk, that's just kind of what I tell people. See, that's always been my idea when you are talking to someone. You're the expert, right? So let you do your thing. Well, we do it every day. A lot of people complain about realtors in general. And we're different. We do it every day. We live and breathe it. We have a full staff of great, talented people around us. And so if you have information, if you have questions, you can call us. And then you say, you know what, I think we do want to buy a house. Then we'll get you to a qualified lender who's going to do what they say they're going to do, and then the ball starts rolling.
And again, if you'd like to get the ball rolling, give Chris a call at 350-6228. That's 350-6228. ChrisLofthus.com. Contact us at clgeagle.com. That's contact us at clgeagle.com. And coming up, we're going to talk about the employment and unemployment, of course, the overall economic health. And Chris, in about 20 seconds, how crucial is it that we have a healthy home market when we're talking about being a place of economic growth in the country?
Well, it's huge. Real briefly, just touch on it. It's just, a lot of people are homeowners, and when you have some positive momentum like that, it just starts showing that, hey, there are people out there that are qualified to buy, and it just starts changing, I think, the whole attitude towards the economy in general, which we'll discuss in the next segment.
All right, that's next at 580 KIDO.